Paramount Pictures buried a profit-sharing clause in Coming to America that would have changed everything for every actor who signed a studio contract after 1988. And the reason they killed it is something they never wanted you to know. You've heard of net profits. You've probably never heard what the phrase actually means on paper. Somewhere between a movie's box office and an actor's paycheck, the money disappears, legally, contractually, on purpose. And the man who almost forced Hollywood to admit it in open court watched them bury the evidence instead. In 1983, screenwriter Art Buchwald pitched Paramount a story called King for a Day, about an African prince visiting America. Paramount passed. Then in 1988, Eddie Murphy starred in Coming to America, a film with a suspiciously similar premise. Buchwald sued for breach of contract. He wasn't asking for a fortune. His deal promised him a percentage of net profits, the studio's share after expenses. The movie earned over $350 million worldwide. Paramount's accountants reported it lost money. On paper, one of the biggest comedies of the decade was officially a financial failure. That's not a rounding error. That's the clause. Net profits, in a standard studio contract, isn't a description of income, it's a formula, and the studio writes the formula. Distribution fees, marketing overhead, interest charges, in-house services billed to the production at inflated rates, all of it gets subtracted before a single dollar reaches a net participant. Buchwald's lawyers found that Paramount's own attorneys had called net profit deals worthless in internal memos. Not risky, not modest. Worthless, a phrase used to sell contracts to writers and actors who never saw it. Buchwald won in 1990. The judge called the studio's accounting unconscionable, and that should have been the moment everything changed. The moment every agent in Hollywood rewrote their client's deal to demand real numbers instead of net profit promises. Instead, something else happened. Paramount settled before the damages phase ever forced full public disclosure of the formula. The case became a footnote instead of a blueprint. And the industry didn't abandon net profit clauses. It refined them, buried the fee structures deeper into riders and side letters, and let gross participation become the new prize reserved only for stars powerful enough to demand it. Everyone else still signs net. Remember that formula Buchwald exposed? It didn't just survive his lawsuit, it got smarter. 2 decades later, Peter Jackson sued New Line Cinema over profits from The Lord of the Rings trilogy, one of the highest-grossing franchises ever made. He alleged the studio used related company, accounting, licensing merchandise, and video rights to its own sister companies at below-market rates, to keep net profit numbers artificially low. The case settled quietly in 2007 for an undisclosed sum with a gag order that kept the actual mechanics out of public record. Here's the part they really don't want you connecting. Every time one of these lawsuits threatens to force full transparency into open court, the studios settle right before trial. Not because they're generous. Because a verdict creates a legal precedent, and a precedent would apply retroactively to every net profit contract currently in force across the industry. Thousands of actors, writers, and directors who'd suddenly have grounds to reopen their own deals. A settlement stays private. A verdict becomes public law. So they pay the individual, protect the formula, and let the next actor sign the exact same clause, in the exact same language, believing they're getting a real cut of a hit. The system isn't broken. It's working precisely as designed. It was built to be quietly unwinnable for anyone without a Peter Jackson-sized power to sue. Think about what that clause actually costs. Character actors, character writers, the people who make a franchise a phenomenon instead of just a release. Many of them signed net profit deals on movies that made hundreds of millions, and many of them are, on paper, owed nothing. Multiply that across 5 decades of studio filmmaking, and you're not looking at a handful of unlucky contracts. You're looking at a permanent transfer of wealth away from the people who built the thing that made the money, formalized in boilerplates so standard that agents stopped even flagging it as a fight worth having. So the next time a beloved film is called a box office disappointment, ask yourself who decided that, and what they had to gain by writing it that way. How many of the actors on your favorite movie were told, in writing, that the hit they made you love never actually turned a profit?